Hello and welcome to Mujibur Rahman Creations. In this video, I am going to discuss about all the important questions which can come in the first sessional examination of BALLB third semester. I have selected some questions from every paper's history, pol science, sociology and contract 1. So I shall discuss all about the important questions including the four papers from the four papers in the same video. So watch the video till end. If you are new in my channel, so please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for more notifications. So let's start the video. In history, you will have to attempt only 2 questions in the examination, sessional exam. So there will be 4 or 6 questions from 2 units. So I have prepared 4 questions for the sessional exam. First one is from unit 1. Give an account of the judicial administration in Madras between 1639 to 1726. So this question is very important for the finals also. So I have written only the questions which are important for sessional as well as finals. So if you read all these questions which I have given in this video, I shall discuss about which questions. So this will be helpful to prepare for your finals also. So please watch the video full till the end. So next question. Trace the transition of the East India Company from a trading body to a territorial power on the basis of various English royal charters from 1661 to 1698. So in this question, if you are going to answer of this question, then you have to write about emergence of British from 1600 to 1698. In introduction part, you have to write about the emergence of British from the royal charter of 1600 and then come to the next part or the description part from 1661 to 1698. Next question, why was the Regulating Act 1773 passed? What were its various or different provisions? So you have to write about the causes or circumstances in which the Regulating Act was passed and the different provisions of this Regulating Act. And now question number 4 is, do you think the Regulating Act of 1773 created a proper legal system in India? Discuss. In this chapter we have to write about the Regulating Act, why was it enacted or passed, and then what was its main features, and then write it down that what were the changes that were brought up by the Regulating Act, and then go to the main part. Did this act create a proper legal system in India? If yes, then write why and how. So I think these 4 questions will be sufficient for the sessional examination, for first sessional exam. So I have discussed all the 4 questions. You may download the video or watch again. So now moving to political science 3. From political science I have chosen only 6 questions. So first question is, discuss the main features or principles of the Constitution of India. So in this question, when you are writing the answers, you have to write about the various features, characteristics or principles of the Constitution of India. So now next question, discuss the causes of growth of Indian nationalism. So in this question, you have to write about all the causes, 8 or 9 causes that contributed to or that helped to rise or to grow the Indian nationalism. And then discuss the main provisions of the Government of India Act 1935 and discuss the main provisions of the Indian Independence Act of 1947. So if you have any problem regarding the answers, I can help you. If you have any problem, comment on the comment section. I shall try to give the answers also. Next question, discuss the fundamental rights and duties under the Constitution of India. There may be a separate question in the examination that discuss the fundamental rights and rights under the Constitution of India, and there may be another question on discuss the fundamental duties under the Constitution of India. So in finals, when you're writing the answers, you have to write critically what are the fundamental rights, why are these, what are the types of this right, what are the articles that fall under the rights. There are 6 fundamental rights: right to equality, right to freedom. So right to equality is article 14 to 18. Then right to freedom, article 19 to 22. Right against exploitation, articles 23 to 24. Right of freedom of religion, article 25 to 28. Cultural and educational rights, article 29 to 30. And right to constitutional remedies, article 32. So if when you're writing the answers, write properly what is fundamental rights and what are the articles that the fundamental rights contains, and then write what are these rights and elaborate all these 6 fundamental rights. And at last you have to write about the criticisms of fundamental rights. What are the criticisms of fundamental rights? Same with fundamental duties. What are the fundamental duties and then criticisms. Moving to next question, find the difference between the fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy. So you have to discuss in this question about what are the fundamental rights and directive principles, what are the difference between directive principles and fundamental rights. So make a division and in one side write fundamental rights and the other side write directive principles. So the difference between these are, for example, fundamental rights are negative as they prohibit the state from doing certain things, but the directive principles are positive as they require the state to do certain things. And then fundamental rights have legal sanctions, then but the directive principles have moral and political sanctions. So such there arises some difference between fundamental rights and directive principles. So you have to write all the differences in this answer. Next question, discuss the various directive principles of state policy under the Indian Constitution. It means that you have to discuss about all the types of or the classifications of directive principles. So there are 3 types of fundamental directive principles. Number 1 is socialistic principle, and then Gandhian principle, and then liberal intellectual principles. So when you are writing the answers about the various types of directive principles, then write about the articles which fall under this. So firstly, socialistic principles covers article 38 to article 47, and then liberal intellectual or Gandhian principle covers article 44 to 51, and then new Gandhian principles cover article 40 to 48, and liberal intellectual covers 44 to 51. So you have to write all about these articles. I have given a little account of these articles. So if you see Indian Polity M. Lakshmikant, page number point number 8.2, directive principles of state policy, you will find all the articles. So read it in the book. So I think the questions I have given from political science and history are sufficient for this sessional examination. Now moving on to sociology. So from sociology, the main syllabus is unit 1, 2 and 4. So from unit 1, question is, what is law? Discuss the relationship between law and social science. You have to write what is law and the relationship between law and social science. While you are writing the relationship, you have to write about what is social science, and then go to the analysis part, that relationship between law and sociology, that law and social science, that how law helps to create social science in the society. And then next question number 2, discuss the trajectory of the emergence of law in the society. While you are writing the answer of this question, trajectory of emergence of law in society, then you have to analyze the system of law from the ancient times to till the modern times. So in the answer part of this question, trajectory of law, emergence of law, so The answer will cover the law, legal system in your ancient or pre-literate society, and then elements of pre-literate society, then ancient Roman civilization in 17th to 18th century, and then foundation of a nation state in the modern time. So there will be a discussion on the laws of previous or pre-literate society and how it was transferred, how it got modified from time to time, and how we have found the nation state. So this question will cover all these parts. Next, moving to next question. Define social control. What are the purposes of social control? Discuss the role of religion and education as a means of social control. You have to write about social control definition, and then what are the purposes, and then religion and education are the means or agencies of social control. So you have to write about the influence of religion and education, how it works to create social control or to maintain social control. And then number 4, discuss the characteristics and agencies of social control. So you have to write about the characteristics, what are the characteristics or natures of social control, and then what are the agencies of social control. And there may be another question on the what are the types of social control. So there are two types of social control, one is formal and another is informal. So formal social control includes, it is authoritarian, and it includes law, public opinion, coercion, religion, sanction, etc. And the informal social control is loosely tied authority, and it contains customs, folkways, modes, fashion, etiquette, manner, ceremony, etc. So you have to write about all this. And next, question number 5, define social disorganization. What are the characteristics and types of social disorganization? Discuss. So you have to write about the definition of social disorganization, and then what are the characteristics or natures of social disorganization, and what are the types of social disorganization. And then last question of sociology, discuss the causes and remedial measures of social disorganization with appropriate examples. So you have to write about what are the causes of social disorganization and write down the remedial measures of social disorganization with appropriate examples. So there are various causes of social disorganization, as there are 3 causes. They are psychological, cultural, nine causes: psychological factors, cultural lack, physical or geographical factor, biological factor, ecological factors, social problems, and then degeneration of values, and then disintegration of confusion of role, and then political subordination. So these are the causes of social disorganization, and there are several remedial measures as able and effective administration, plans and policies, rehabilitation, family planning, education and employers scope. So when you are writing the remedial measures, give some appropriate examples also. So history, pol science and sociology part, all the important questions from these 3 papers are completed. Now moving on to contract 1 paper. So contract 1 paper, our sessional syllabus is unit 1, 2 and 3. Unit 1 is from Ridhusmita ma'am, unit 2 is from Gautam sir, and unit 3 is from Bornali ma'am. So you have to know about the questions which will come in this exam. So I have made some questions. From contract 1, you will have number 1, what is contract? Discuss the essential elements of a valid contract. And then what is proposal? Write down the essentials of a proposal in formation of contract. So what is contract? Definition of contract. And then what are the essential elements that helps us to make a contract valid. And then what is proposal? Definition of proposal. And then write down what are the essentials or what are the elements that makes us to make a proposal valid, or what are the essentials that help us to make proposal. And then What do you mean by capacity to contract? Discuss the position of a minor's contract under in English and Indian law. You have to read about what is capacity to contract. So some people have capacity to contract and others do not have the capacity to contract. Now you have to know what is capacity to contract. So there are essentials of contract as there should be age of majority, sound mind, the person should be sound mind, there should be two parties. So these are essentials of valid contract. So if a person is not of age of majority, or if a person is of lunatic or not sound minded, so he is not competent to make a contract. So thus you have to write about capacity contract. And then moving on to position of minor's contract under the English and Indian law, you will find the answer in book itself. So write it from the book. And then next question, what is consideration? Is there any exception to the general rule of no consideration, no contract? Explain fully with illustration. So in this question, while you are writing the answer, you have to write fully about what is meant by consideration. And then, is there any exception to the general rule of consideration? So firstly, you have to write about consideration. What is meant by consideration? So while a person makes a contract with another party, then he has to give something. Subject, while a person is making contract, then he has to give something in return of the thing on which they make the consideration. So section 2B of Indian Contract Act 1872 defines consideration as when at the desire of the promisor, the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing or does or abstains from doing or promises to do or to abstain from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise is called a consideration for the promisee. So, and then now move on. So if there is no consideration, there will be no contract. So without consideration, the contract will be void. But there are some exceptions to the consideration. So this consideration, you have to know there are three types of consideration: present, past and future consideration. And then there are four exceptions of consideration. Number one is natural love and affection, which falls under section 25(1). Then voluntary compensation 25(2). Number 3 is time barred debt 25(3). And then agency section 185 of the Indian Contract Act. So there are some exceptions of consideration. Then you have to write about all the 4 points which I have mentioned. So explain fully with illustration, with law cases. So while you are writing answers of the law papers, you have to mention the law cases to get the full marks. Next question, what is free consent? Discuss the factors vitiating free consent. So what is free consent? If you are making a contract, the both parties or the conditions applied in the contract must be applied with the free consent of both the parties or both the persons who are making the contract. So there should be no coercion or no force enforcement. So when both the parties make their contract willingly, then it is called free consent. So there are various factors which vitiates free consent. They are like fraud, mistake of law, coercion, misrepresentation, etc. You have to discuss fully about these points with the essential elements and then one law cases each topic. Next question, what are the different kinds of contract or agreements declared void by the Indian Contract Act 1872? Explain briefly with examples. So in this question, while you are answering, you have to write about what are the different essential elements of void contract as provided under the Indian Contract Act 1872, and then explain it briefly with examples, with law cases and examples. So friends, these were the questions which I have made you for our sessional examination, first sessional exam 2019, BALLB third sem of University Law College, Gore University. So best wishes for the sessional. Goodbye. Have a great day.